Licensed movie and TV show games get a pretty bad rap, and for good reason. More often than not, it's the owner of the IP wanting to milk it for everything it's worth, without actually caring whether the game's got the same spirit as the show or the movie, and definitely without caring about whether or not it's a good game. Even great shows like Adventure Time aren't immune to this. This year's Adventure Time Explore the Dungeon because, I don't know, for the 3DS. Based on the cover and title, it appears to have all of the wacky character that the show has, and so it seems like it could be a really good game if you like Adventure Time. The Wii U version looks like it could be a good bit of fun with the multiplayer and everything, but I'm looking for something on the 3DS, and this 3DS version is kinda pathetic. I wanted more than anything for this to be great, but I couldn't find an ounce of fun in it. Which is really a shame, because not only is Adventure Time a great show, but this game was developed by WayForward, who are a great developer and probably did a great job on the Wii U version. I guess it just lost all of its fun when it got ported to the 3DS. You know, Adventure Time has really built up quite a following since it started, and it seems like that only sped up when it ended. People who love this show would want nothing more than one more episode. But what if I told you there was another episode, heck, a 3-hour special? You've just been looking in the wrong place. Among the mass of crappy, unplayable licensed games lies a literal masterpiece, the most underappreciated DS game of all time. This game does an absolutely wonderful job encapsulating everything great about Adventure Time, specifically the first few seasons. This game does not at all take itself seriously, and it's surprisingly fun. It's got the character and personality of the show more than some episodes of the actual show do. And even if you don't care about Adventure Time at all, this is just a good game, and I honestly think it would get you into Adventure Time if you weren't before. And the game isn't just based on an episode or two, it is its own episode. Within it though are all kinds of references to specific episodes. Characters, items, areas, that kind of stuff. If you haven't played this game before and you like Adventure Time even just a little, you have to give it a go. As the title suggests, things kick off with the Ice King stealing your garbage. Jake doesn't really seem to care, but Finn reminds him that they ought to teach Ice King a lesson anyways. After all, stealing is stealing. And so both of them decide to go beat up Ice King because he probably deserves it. This storyline takes you all over Ooh, helping folks and chasing down the Ice King. He'll try and stop you with dungeons, bosses, and terrible riddles, but he's pretty much as pathetic as always. That doesn't mean that you won't have to try though. These dungeons and bosses are actually pretty tough. This is one of the only games that I've read every line of dialogue in, because it's just got such a self-aware Adventure Time feel to it. I won't fill you in too much on the story, but let me just say, it's more than worth getting to the end. The gameplay is for the most part modeled after The Legend of Zelda 2. It's got this world map that you walk around, avoiding enemy encounters and entering levels. Then you do action platforming sections, collecting and using items along the way. And let me just say, this inventory is one of the best parts of the game. It's pretty simple. You get food items from enemies and chests and stuff that give you different amounts of health. You can also get condiments and put them on different food items, which makes them restore more health. Plus, you can get power-up items that give you a buff when you use them. Some people might not like how cluttered the inventory gets, but I really like organizing inventories in games for some reason. Most of the items that you get are directly from episodes of the show, like the Beauteous Wings, Crystal Apple, and the Stars of Frozen Rain. Some of these have kind of ridiculous buffs, like the Nightosphere Amulet, which makes you do completely crazy damage but brings you to low health. In a normal game, that would just be the trade-off. But in this game, you can use a Nightosphere Amulet, then eat a cake to get your health back, then use a Crystal Eye to gain invincibility, then use the Billy Sword to slow down time. If you save up a few items that combo really well, you can completely decimate a boss. The bosses aren't total pushovers though. More often than not, whatever you have in your inventory isn't going to be enough to completely skip the fight. The main levels are quite enjoyable, the platforming seems reasonably difficult, and the combat is more fun than it looks. Not to mention you start to unlock more moves that you can use against enemies and platforming obstacles. Plus, you can always use those items in your inventory to help you get through tough sections. I will say though, there are quite a few quests that send you back through areas that you've already been through several times. It can end up feeling a bit more like you're doing chores than quests. It seems like some areas were short on content and got padded out with fetch quests. That, or these quests were supposed to be a way to bring all the levels and abilities together by having you travel all over Ooh, and it just ended up being a little annoying. But even the boring missions still consist of fun gameplay and some pretty good dialogue. Overall, this game's pretty concise. It'll probably only take you 3 or 4 hours to beat the first time. On one hand, I obviously want there to be more of this game, but on the other, I think that's the perfect length for a DS game. It doesn't demand too much commitment. You get to see the story conclude without having to put 10 or 20 hours into the game. But it doesn't have to end after you beat it since you unlock New Game Plus, so you can play through again with all your stat levels and items against slightly tougher enemies. The art style meets in the middle between modern cartoon and retro video game. The gameplay I'm showing really doesn't do it justice, since it's emulated with the least fuzzy looking texture filter. It makes the pixely areas bleed together and lose the sharpness, but on the actual 3DS, this game looks much crisper and cleaner. The level backgrounds and items all look straight out of Adventure Time, and the sprite and animation work on Finn and Jake is phenomenal. This game might look simple, but that also means it's not distracting. Plus, the basic graphics leave room for consistently high frame rates. By the way, I'm emulating this so that I can get footage of it. I didn't pirate this game, I dumped this cartridge onto an SD card. You can probably tell so far that the people who worked on this game loved it. You don't have to play this game to know that though. Heck, you don't even have to look at it, just listen to it. This game's got some seriously great music. My only complaint is that some of it is a bit underused. Specifically, the action music that plays when you encounter enemies on the map is usually better than the level music, which is a shame since these encounters are pretty avoidable. Not to mention, they last just long enough to end before the song really gets started. Also, there obviously should have been more levels that use the Party in the Clouds theme. They did put it in the first level just to make sure that everybody who played the game got to hear it, no matter how far they got. If you can make it to the end of the game though, you'll get to hear some of the soundtrack's best points, which I'll let you experience for yourselves. Or you can just look up the whole soundtrack, obviously. But if you intend on playing the game, I would recommend holding off on listening to the whole thing until you get to properly experience it in the game. I believe the original DS version of this game is missing a few songs, so make sure to get the 3DS version if you can. As a fan of Adventure Time, this is in my top 5 favorite DS games of all time. But even if you've never watched the show, this is a great game on its own. It's pretty surprising that I've never heard this game's goofy name uttered online. It never gets any attention or praise, so I'm hoping I can spread the word. As of now, it's really not that expensive for a complete copy, and I don't see the price going too high too soon. Plus, if more attention is brought to the game and the price does go up, that's great. More copies of the game are going on collectors' shelves, not in the trash. If you've got a 3DS or even just a DS, this game's worth the time, money, and shelf space. Do try to get the 3DS version though, since it does have improvements. Now that I think about it, a Switch version of this game would kinda be the best thing ever. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. Thanks.